G'day everyone, and welcome back to the channel and to seeing what I've been up to. Quite a few miniatures. Well, for me anyway. Since the last time I saw you, quite a few been done. I think we've got 18 miniatures here on the table, and some quite striking miniatures. There's a couple of rows behind these guys in the front that are my ongoing Napoleonics project. They're Fusiliers, and I'll show you them in due course, but I thought we'd start with the front row. These were painted from my mate Albie up in Queensland, and who collects all sorts of cool miniatures. He's had a bit of a roll with the silver bayonet lately, and he's been getting them not only from North Star but sourcing them from all sorts of 3D print or sculptors and stuff like that. So the miniatures you can see in front are from a company called Cool Kiwi. I believe you can find them on My Mini Factory. And I think, Albie would have got these sent to him pre-printed, I imagine. So you might be able to get prints possibly from Cool Kiwi. I'm not sure how he went about it, but anyway. So what you can see, it's not the entire set in the front, because I think there's one or two others that I haven't put up here yet, that I haven't painted yet. They're from the French set by Cool Kiwi. I can't remember what they call the range. It's Gothic something, or anyway, I'm sure I can, if I remember, I'll try and put a link in the video. I think I put one in on the last video as well, because I probably talked about them then, and they were just undercoated at that stage. So here they are. So they're all meant to be French. Interestingly, I think that the chap on this end here looks slightly more Germanic to me. It might be because the big silver cross kind of reminds me of like a German medal or something, the Iron Cross or something like that. I don't know what it is. It's just something in my mind. But anyway, but it's definitely his style of uniform is definitely a French officer's uniform that you could see on campaign. And as always, there'll be stills afterwards. I've tried to take these guys in particular from a few different angles. Really interesting miniatures. So you've got this officer here. Now these are, if we look back, if you look alongside, because like most good war gamers, we want to know how does it compare with other ranges. So if we look back here, I'm going to shift the camera over slightly and compare it with a Perry. Now, what you have to take into account is the fact that, let me just grab a pointer, is the fact that you've got a much chunkier base here. These are on 25mm rounds, and these are on 20mm rounds. That base there would be a Renedra plastic, I believe. So it's a bit thinner than, quite a bit thinner, as you can see, than this. So that does raise him up a bit more. And also, this guy's got a Shako on, so there's a head there, that guy. So yeah, they're sort of a head above the rest due to that base in part. But I suspect overall they are bigger figures, slightly bigger. I think the Perrys are probably 28mm. These are probably more likely 32s. So, but having said that, obviously being 3D STLs that you can buy, you could just tweak that slightly if you wanted to bring the scale down, the sizing down, just a smidge if you were printing them from home, so that they would fit with your Perrys and whatnot. Although, if you're just looking at like character figures, heroic sort of character figures, having trouble keeping the focus here. Let's try there. There we go. Yeah, it depends on how you're playing it, really. Move the camera back along. Okay, so you've got that officer. And then here we've got a Fusilier, French Fusilier, and you know, some of these, I think if you, obviously if they fit in with your other miniatures in terms of height, which they're pretty close to, as I said, you could do things, you could probably, like, if you wanted to use them as not silver bayonet and you just wanted to mix it up a bit, you could use some of these in your regular armies or skirmish forces for sharp practice or whatever set you're using. You could just knock off those crosses and things things that sort of mark them out as silver bayonet type figures. So he's got another big silvery cross there. So, but apart from that, like this Fusilier doesn't really have much of anything to signify him as being part of the silver bayonet world. It's a nice sculpt. Yeah, some nice cloaks to work on and weather and obviously the great coat and whatnot. So, yeah. Pleased with that, how they turned out. Now these backpacks, as they come, they're actually non-textured. There's another the sapper on the end here. They have a smooth finish, and typically a lot of pictures you see of French backpacks, they tend to be of like a rough hide with the hair on the outside. So what I've done is using just lots of little fine strokes and stippling, I've tried to create some a textured effect on both the backpacks of the guys. So yeah, I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but yeah, there's just to create a sense of texture on those backpacks rather than just dead smooth as they were before. And also I've sort of used a bit of tiny little dots and strokes on his greatcoat to make it sort of give the appearance of a rough wool or whatever they were made out of. Wool, I guess, or something. But a rough cloth, and it's seen a bit of wear on campaign. And then you've got, this is real and truly into the realms of fantasy. This figure, I wouldn't try and include that in an historical army. Unless you wanted to, maybe, no, see even that it's got this fantastical kind of scope on the gun. Yes, it's got the crosses. It's meant to be some sort of giantess. I don't know. You see, it's meant to be a female character, but she's massively tall because she's almost taller. It's certainly as tall as the male figures, if not taller. So rather unusual character. But you could, in theory, I suppose, you could use her as a Spanish guerrilla lady or something like that. But I don't know. But yeah, something a bit different. This is more of the fantasy sort of side of things. So got a French hussar style costume. So I've used and this one is meant to be again another sort of silver bayonet, not just probably the American supplement, a nod to that. Yeah, there's a scout. I think that's meant to be a female figure as well. No war paint or anything, just working as a scout for the French. It's a nicely posed figure. It's attractively sculpted. It's nice. Just enough little details without it being overwhelming with details. Doesn't require war paint or anything like that, like those others I recently painted. So got some of the French equipment with the white straps and stuff. Now this one, I think this chap here, this surgeon, French surgeon. So, and I painted him I looked it up and did a little bit of research about the surgeon uniforms in the French army, and has it got a bit of dust on it? I don't know. Anyway, it does, doesn't it annoy you when you see something through the camera? There's a little bit of something there. I think I got it. Yes, so you notice that it's not as dark as the regular French blue, the sort of indigo-based blue that the regular uniforms were. They had this sort of mid-blue that they're wearing. Yeah, again, you got on the sapper, you got that indigo sort of deep blue. We wore more of a mid-blue, a bit like this hussar blue in some ways. So for that, I used scale 75 Cantabric blue, and then that wood got highlighted with AK 3rd Gen medium blue. Just trying to get that in shot. There we go. So that was that. But yeah, I really like that surgeon figure. Again, he's probably a little bit tall, but you could fix that. But if you had him and put him on a, even if you didn't resize it as a 3D print, you just printed it as it was provided or had it printed. If you just put it on a thinner base, I reckon it'd fit in really well as a slightly taller surgeon, man. It's just, there's nothing fantasy about it, to my mind. It looks really cool. It's a lovely natural pose. He's just wiping his hands on a cloth. He's obviously been busy doing a lot of amputations. He's got the splatter. I tried not to make it bright red gore. It's more sort of like it's soaked into the fabric. Some's dried and some's fresher. So it's various shades of red and reddy browns and darker colours. And yeah, and he's got on the back, he does have a sword for personal protection. You probably wouldn't buy a super expensive one, just a basic one. But look at that. I love that little touch. And I've left it clean. I haven't had it dripping with blood or anything. We'll say he's cleaned it and not got to keep it nice and sharp and clean. But he's got his saw, his bone saw there on the back hanging off his belt. I love that as a touch. That's really cool. Oh, pardon me. And then he's like, you've got his sort of medical kit, his surgeon's little box there. Where he's got various things in. And I love that they've sculpted him with, he's got sort of his balding on top and he's got just sort of a tuft left. It's cool. It's a very cool figure. So, I mean, I definitely put that in an historical skirmish group. That'd probably be great in, isn't there a thing in sharp practice where you can have a character who's a medic or something like that? I mean, that would be a perfect figure from Cool Kiwi. That's ideal, that miniature. That definitely goes with the historical stuff, not just fantasy. So he's a cracker. This guy, he's quite stooped, this Pioneer, but he'd be good too, I think. He's a huge dude. If he stood to his full height, I reckon, in his bearskin. Lovely miniature. You can't really see his face very well in the camera, but he's got a very determined look. Big axe. The only thing that marks him out for Silver Bayonet really is, and it's hard to make out from this angle, but in under there on his apron, there is another silver cross hanging, and he's got some stakes there on his belt, like a little bandolier of stakes for dealing with vampires, probably, or something of that nature. But yeah, so he didn't have the detail, like raised detail of the crossed axes on his arms. I just did a bit of looking up at some images and stuff, and I painted them on myself. So he's got that on both arms. Again, I textured with paint the backpack. Great fun. Very cool miniatures to paint. Very cool indeed. So he's got the bearskin. Really nice figures. So yeah. Very cool. Something a bit different. As I said, again, it crosses that barrier between, and that's the neat thing about the silver bayonet, is that you can, it can be a gateway into the world of Napoleonics. You don't need a huge amount of figures. You can play a bit more fast and loose with some of your ideas and things like that. But at the same time, it can get you really enthused about historical stuff. And there's a lot of, it seems to me that a lot of the miniatures that I'm seeing would definitely not look out of place. Sometimes only with minor adjustments wouldn't look out of place in historical Napoleonic skirmish or whatever, or a special command group. That surgeon in particular would look great. And the sapper in a sort of action group storming a fortress or a gate or something like that. So yeah, very cool figures. So let's put them to one side. As I said, there'll be a number of photos of them at the end. And this is going to be obviously slightly longer than my last one or two videos because I've got more to show you. So let's bring these guys forward. So I've been plugging away at my Fusiliers from the box set, the Perry box set. Gradually getting there. It does take me a long time, and it takes a long time to paint French, particularly the way I paint. I am not the fastest of painter because I tend to do lots of highlights and fiddly things, and I'm just, yeah, that's just me. So here we go. So another group of Fusiliers. Now these have that sort of interesting colour. It's sort of like an orangey, a pinky, peachy, orangey kind of colour that pom-pom. As you can see, there's a couple of the guys that haven't got the shakos on. One's got is it the Bayonet de Police, I think it's called, on this chappy here. So, and these poses were a bit easier in some respects to paint because they're open on the chest. It does mean you have to paint everything. You can't fudge anything, but it's easier to get to with your brush because you haven't got a musket going like crossways across the body like I had with the row behind them. It's a bit trickier. So yeah, I'll give you a little turn around. So this chap here, now there are one or two, I think there might be at least one, maybe two heads without hats in the set, but I think I also pinched one from from the British Perry plastic set, and I think there are two heads with the Bayonet de Police, this undress cap thing. So as you see, these guys are given the black oilskin covers, shako covers, and he's just got his hanging off the back. I imagine they'd get pretty hot on the march, and sometimes you want to take them off. I imagine I during the course of doing all this stuff, I reread some of the stuff in the Haythornthwaite book on uniforms of the Peninsular War, and he's got a very good, which is just as it hasn't got out of date or anything as far as I can see, the stuff that he writes at the beginning of the book, because he quotes a lot of original sources of descriptions of the state of uniforms of both, British and their allies and the French and their allies, and how absolutely dilapidated and ragged and ad hoc they were. And these miniatures don't even show quite those extremes by a long shot. I mean, it's more of a nod to like some of the civilian brown cloths and stuff like that. But I can imagine, plenty of description, particularly of footwear on both sides, that the footwear that was issued to them was very janky, and they would end up, a lot of them, either barefooted or with, this is both sides, or with the Spanish-made hemp, I think they're made of hemp or something, or sandals and things like that, that were much more practical and actually lasted longer. So, yeah, so I've given them, again, that dusty kind of campaign look with some civilian cloth. But yeah, you could go a lot more ragged and stuff if you wanted to take the time to do a bit more chopping and converting and that sort of thing. So there we go. Take those out of the way. Talking about chopping and converting, if you haven't seen, there's a cool channel I've been watching lately, and I watched a good interview with the guy on Miniature Realms as well. The gentleman is Paul Stanley. I think his YouTube channel is called Paul Stanley Author. He's written a couple of books on miniatures and stuff, fantasy and sci-fi. But he does a lot of really cool converting of figures, and he has Napoleonics as well. Really worth a look. So let me get these back in focus now. Okay, we got a bit too close there. Oh no, she'll do. She'll do. Says there, and still wobbling it around. Come on. Now, right. Now this is my next company. Now these have got the violet, purpley violet coloured pom-poms. So I've got some more uncovered heads. Again, this is either from the British or the French set. This one, though, oh yeah, this is from the French set, Bayonet de Police. So I've gone for the lighter coloured Shako covers. There was also quite a lot of really almost bleached white Shako covers that made an appearance in the peninsula. So you had all sorts of colours, including these sorts of greens. That green there is basically Russian uniform, the Vallejo paint, and then lightened up. And that's a very useful colour as well. Good as a trouser colour too. It's like a sort of another representation of a civilian cloth. So I think I've used it here and possibly there, and various other browns that I've lightened up. So there's none of these guys are actually wearing the original issue white trousers. They've all got some sort of civilian and cloth trousers, and looking rather scruffy with their Shakos hanging off the back, their covers. So different light tones on their covers there. Now, what else can I say about them? Oh yes, this guy's got, you get some bits and bobs in the set. Getting a bit tangled here. There's some sort of, it's his job to be carrying that implement, whether that's got water in it or is used for cooking stew or what, I'm not sure, but he's got that hooked on his backpack. I don't suppose they enjoyed carrying that extra amount of weight, but the French in particular had to live off the land, didn't they? So what else have we got? Yeah, another Shako hanging on the back. He's got his Bayonet de Police there. Oh yeah, another pan down the back underneath his backpack. I've tried to give the vague impression that it's hanging off one of the straps. And this special bald guy here, check him out. Now, this fella, this head is actually from the Perry Martist set for the Sudan. Yeah, so but painted up obviously as a white fella, and sorry, Caucasian. Yeah, so and given quite a bit of stubble, he's obviously a bit bald. I like to think of him as Fusilier Peach, and those in the know will know that's a bit of a nod to a certain YouTuber who has a rifleman to look like him in his miniature collection. So this is not the same head as he used, but I thought I'd use a bald head, and because I really enjoy his Peachy Tips silver bayonet content. It's very, very good fun. Very good fun. Very inspiring to get on and paint things and have a bit of fun with the hobby. So that's Fusilier Peach with his violet pom-pom, and he's got a bit hot and bothered. He's taken his Shako off as well and hung it on the back for a bit. Yes, so had a bit of fun with that one. I'll have to see, it's just nice. I'm just trying to, because there's so much repetition with these figures, and just trying to find any point of difference, kind of, get a different head or something else I could add. If I had more bits and bobs, I mean, I got quite a few in my bits box, but not as many as some people because they haven't put together as many plastic figures. So it would be nice to add things like, I don't know, a rabbit or something hanging off the back of a backpack, or, maybe find some different heads. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what I find. So there you go. I'll leave you with a view of Fusilier Peach there. So yeah, if you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments. Do remember that the sooner you can put them in, the more likely I am to remember what I did, because I don't make notes on all these things. But I do have previous videos talking about the colours that I use for my French uniforms. Yeah, I'm trying a few different things actually for my base colour. I think this lot of 6, to get a quick base colour for the super dark blue, I actually used Payne's Grey acrylic ink. Is it a De La Rowney one or something? I've got it in one of my boxes back there. But and that worked just as well as using you know, like if you have a really dark blue contrast paint or a really dark blue paint. I also tried Reaper Blue Liner, which is another blue-black, but any sort of really blue-black kind of thing is a really good base for a French uniform. And then you just build it up and lighten it up from there. I mean, so these have been highlighted. The idea with French uniforms is they're not going to go bright blue. If anything, as they fade, it's going to go more toward a bluey grey probably. And then you've got dirt and dust and stuff like that. So, you know, I've got the dust on the elbows and the knees and things. I remember in that Haythorn's Weight reading something about a quote from two soldiers in the British Army comparing one had a red coat originally and the other one had a blue coat, and they compared sleeves with each other and they both looked the same. They had become so campaign dirtied and the actual pigment had gone out, washed out, the dust had got in. Basically they just had this same sort of this same probably dark brown look to them. So it does, you've got a bit of leeway. Anyway, guys, this is a longer video from me. I really hope you found it interesting. And if you've got any questions, please ask them. I'll try my best to answer them. I've got loads of stuff coming up, but obviously I've got to build it. I've got to paint it. It'll take me time. So I'm not sure exactly what you'll be seeing next from me, but I will be endeavouring to assemble the next lot of these. And get the next batch underway, but there'll be some other stuff going on in the background too. Yeah, because I've got all sorts of interesting projects here that I can get my teeth into. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the photos, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.
N'a pas besoin de marchepied pour engueuler son brigadier. À la belle vie que l'on mène dans les hussards, dans les hussards. À la belle vie que l'on mène dans les hussards, dans les hussards. Le hussard au manège, le hussard au manège. Malgré la base qui protège, plus vite son dos que son siège. À la belle vie que l'on mène dans les hussards, dans les hussards.